Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas, on Monday, January the 26th. And as we like to do once a week, we'll be chatting with our good friend Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. Lots to get into today. The Minneapolis story, of course, unfolding. I understand that more is going to happen between President Trump and the governor of Minnesota. There's also the Greenland story, the Iran story, and lots to get into with our friend Bill. So, Bill, welcome today, and welcome to I guess, the storm of 26, whatever they
Yes,
call it.
absolutely.
Quite a storm.
Well, it is, and it's in my lifetime I've seen some storms, but this one took place over so many states at the same
Yes,
time. That I think is something of a record, and it's not your typical storm in that the underlying danger seems to be ice.
yes.
And that's very very rare. And you very rarely also see states in the South impacted by storms like this.
Well, I can tell you from experience here. We went through it, North Texas. Normally, we'll get some snow once in a while. Not a lot like they do up north, but we always get 1 or 2 weeks of snow and some low temperatures. But this time, what we got was very, very low temperatures. I mean, it was 17 degrees this morning when we got up, and I guess it felt like 6, according to what they were telling us. And we also got a lot of rain, which automatically turned into ice. And that's really the problem. It's not the snow, it's the fact that the streets are literally frozen and driving. I mean, I haven't seen a car go by our home here
Yeah.
for 2 days. I mean, everything is just everybody's home. Everybody's took the advice of the police. The police chief basically said, "Look, guys, if you don't want to see us, stay home."
Yeah.
And so far, I guess most people have taken the advice. Now it's up to, I guess it's up to 30 now, and there is a lot of sun at the moment. So some of the streets are melting, which is probably a good thing. But the problem is the temperatures are dropping again to 17 tonight, and go right back to it. Good news is that Wednesday afternoon, it or Tuesday afternoon, it's going to start melting a little bit,
Yeah.
and then on Wednesday, I guess we'll just remember the memory of the storm of 26, Bill.
Well, I think we will, as long as the medical records allow us to remember it. I'm very much concerned about people falling, especially older people. They're
Yes,
warning
yes.
they're warning us here regularly about falls. That first of all, most falls occur indoors. So if people are stuck indoors for days and days, they have to know how to live indoors in a defensive way. The right kind of shoes, not banging into things, having a flashlight at night, because we don't live too far from a hospital, and I haven't heard too many sirens. But I wonder how many broken bones there are floating around in that hospital right now. I think we'll find that out later. But falls, falls, falls. It's that, as the medical people say, you can go take care of yourself for years, and it can all be destroyed in 10 seconds.
Oh,
With a,
sure.
with a
And
fall.
the other fear, and maybe it's even a bigger concern in residential areas where you got people living in homes. Um, I mean, if something were to happen to somebody in my neighborhood, I guess 911 would get here, or the ambulance would get here, but it wouldn't be like they normally can get here.
Yes.
So you always fear that. And, even the newspaper man, I'm still one of the few people who gets the newspaper. Even the newspaper man hasn't made it, didn't make it Sunday, it didn't make it Monday. And I frankly don't blame him
No, absolutely not.
because he's going to get hurt or he's going to get into an accident. So I can wait for my Sunday sports page until Tuesday or Wednesday. I can wait for it. Uh, I can wait for it. It's not something that I'm more concerned about the poor delivery guy getting into an accident at
Oh,
this point.
sure. Well,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, the statistics are not with him.
No.
And even if you are driving and walking, and it seems to be safe. That ice under the ice can get you.
Yeah, they call that here black ice. I don't know where
Yes,
that came
I've
from.
heard that term. Yeah.
Yeah, they call it black ice because you can't see it, I guess, or at night it you cannot tell the difference between the ice and the cement, I
Yes.
guess. So that's what they call it here. But there was a very interesting article that came out, an editorial that came out at that website, Issues and Insight, or Insight and
Yeah.
Issues, and the editorial basically said, What happened to climate change?
Right.
All of a sudden, nobody's talking about climate change, the storm of the century, and nobody's talking about climate change.
Isn't it amazing? I mean,
Yes,
it's so phony. It really is so phony. Uh, that that issue, I think, I don't know if it's gone out of style. It'll probably be back for a while. Whenever the left needs something, they can always they go to their old Rolodex and get the people who are petitioning and fooling around in college with big demonstrations, and they're now in their 30s and they have children, but they can be counted on, for to hold a sign or something. Hands off, hands off our gardens. Hands off this. Hands off that. Not hearing you.
no, okay, I muted
Okay.
myself. Sorry about
Oh,
that. I'm back. I just muted myself by mistake. No, what I'm saying is, considering all the time and all the blame that climate change got for every possible thing
absolutely.
and now all of a sudden the editorial goes on to say that people were not talking about the climate; they were talking about the shortage of salt,
Yes.
which is, of course, that's an old problem. I remember that when I lived in Wisconsin, they would sometimes run out of salt. So that's just, I mean, that's an okay problem. I mean, all you got to do is bring in more salt, I guess.
Yeah.
But
In New York, they ran out of protesters. That's-
well, I hopefully they do that in Minneapolis. We'll talk about that next. But I just think that when when you have situations like this, where you have these kinds of storms, it really pays to have a good local government, because that's really the one you run to, or the one that comes to your assistance. It's nice for the president or the press secretary to say this or that, but it really comes down to your local government, how well prepared they are. And I have to say that here in our area, we're very fortunate because we have good state resources and good people who always show up when there's a problem, Bill.
That's true. That's true. And I think people generally, from what I could see, are being very well behaved.
Yeah,
As you say, I mean, streets are clear, and yet there are no cars. People are taking seriously the advice they get to just stay inside.
right. No, you're right. And so far so good. We hope that this is memory, and that soon we can start complaining about 100-degree weather.
Oh yeah, well that will definitely do.
Yeah, that will come, and we'll see if they blame that one on climate change too.
Well,
But
they'll blame it on President Trump.
well, that's
You
it.
know,
He's the source of all the problems in the world, isn't he?
that's
But
right.
amazing. Well, one very serious problem, of course. Oh, I just wanted to mention this very quickly before I forget. Um, before we get to serious things, Bob Eucker was born on this day in 1934, passed away a year ago. Kind of a shocker that he died. Bob Eucker, of course, is a baseball announcer, a baseball player, but he made a lot of fame with a few movies and appearances on The Tonight Show. Uh, what do you remember of Bob Euchre from your days on The Tonight Show?
Well, he, as you know, was or called himself Mr. Baseball, and he wasn't exactly a home run hitter. I mean,
I think he hit one.
yeah, and I remember that when he was introduced, the band would play "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," ba da 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 da, and he would just kind of sit there and crack jokes and little lines that were hilariously funny, even though he wasn't smiling. And they that he was a character. he was
He
he
was.
wasn't brought in to sing songs or to announce the newest play. He was called in to just sit there, look around at the audience, and all of a sudden say something that had you laughing for hours.
Right. I think he made Johnny Carson laugh a lot.
He did. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I never met Johnny Carson, but you could tell there were some guests that he really liked,
Oh yes.
and I think Don Rickles and Bob Euchre were sort of in that group
Yes.
that
Yes.
they really made him laugh, and you could just tell the way Johnny would laugh at Bob Euchre that he just had a great time with him.
Yes, he did. Rickles, of course, was a big star, and
Sure.
he had a time with Rickles. Sometimes it went well, sometimes it didn't go well, but in the end, it was they were good for each other.
Well, they were fabulous, and the funniest one with Don Rickles was when Frank Sinatra showed up one
Oh
day.
yes,
And Rickles put on an amazing show for Frank. I think Frank couldn't stop laughing either. But
I
so
remember it.
oh yeah, I mean it was just hilarious. And they were showing that the other night on one of the retro channels. They were showing that whole segment, and I tell you, the night shows have really changed.
Oh yeah, well yes, in those days they were funny.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
tonight you have to, not tonight, but in these days, there's not much funny on the funny shows. The hosts are more interested in talking about international politics and what they have to say about it.
Right, and the hosts don't know anything about it, which makes
Of
it
course
even
not.
worse.
Yes.
If they did, then you don't mind watching a serious show. But I mean, but that you wouldn't call that a night. You know, that wouldn't be like a Tonight Show. It would be a
No.
serious interview or something.
Yes, and
But these hosts,
that's the serious
these hosts,
interviews didn't go well on late night shows ever.
no, that's not what people tune in for. But clearly, I mean, there's a channel for that, or there's a time for that serious interview. But the problem with a lot of these night hosts is that they're pretending to be real smart in politics, and all they do is basically just repeat the same anti-Trump lines. It's almost
That's right.
like they're keeping tab of each other. What did he say about Trump today? Well, let me say the same thing or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a mess. But anyway, Bob Euchre, who was actually born in Milwaukee, I heard him say this one day. He was born in Milwaukee, went to, I believe, Pulaski High School in Milwaukee. Was drafted by the Milwaukee Braves, the old Milwaukee Braves. He came up through their farm system, actually did make it to the major leagues. I've seen his baseball card with the Milwaukee Braves, not a very famous card, of course, but I've seen that card. And then, you know, he didn't have much of a career. His last season, I think he played with the Cardinals or something. But somehow he got into comedy or into radio announcing. And that was probably the best thing he could do because he was a great radio announcer. He called the games. He was a real fan favorite there in Milwaukee when he passed away. I mean, he called games there for 50 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, people there really were very attached to him. Well, let's and he died last year. Yeah,
Yes.
2025. Yeah. Let's talk about Minneapolis because that again, you know, we had the shooting over the weekend and, you know, everybody knows what happened. I you know, I don't like to blame everything on the governor and the mayor, but frankly, I don't know who else to blame it on. They have been so irresponsible in what they say and what they've been promoting. Especially almost the mayor has they're both crazy, but the mayor is almost like a hippie out of the 60s. I don't know if you get that
Yes.
impression.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
They are voices from the past.
Yeah.
The only reason we know anything about the governor is because he was Kamala Harris's choice for vice president, and had he acceded to the presidency, this is what we would have had. Not exactly an impressive personality.
No, and it looks he's a mean person too, from what I'm seeing. I mean, he's attacking now. You know, he's attacking the ICE agents in a very mean way, calling them Gestapo, when you're the governor of a state and you've got your own National Guard and your own police forces, I don't think you endear yourself to them by calling other law enforcement those kinds of names, Bill.
No, you certainly don't. And of course, he was also the one who refused to allow his police officers to work with ICE. ICE is a federal agency, a legitimate federal agency. They have a very hard job, which is to pick up really bad people, many of whom have already been convicted of serious crimes, and send them to where they're supposed to be sent. It's a risky job. One of the agents was very badly injured last night when he was assaulted. And it is a job that is thankless. And I think they probably do it pretty well. But the issue here really as to what's causing all the mob rule is the fact that the Democratic Party kind of likes illegal immigrants. They regard them as unfortunate people who really just are in this situation because of bad luck or something, and we really have to take them in our sanctuary city because that's who we are. Well, no, we're not. We no, nobody ever asked these people to forget arresting dangerous criminals.
Right.
This is coming from the Democratic Party, or what used to be the Democratic Party. God knows what they are today, and it has caused a tremendous disruption. But as you've said and other people have said, why only in that state? The same ICE units that are in Minnesota were recently in Louisiana and other states where they carried out their constitutional functions without anyone getting hurt.
Right. Well, that's right. The ones in New Orleans or Louisiana were just right across the border. Louisiana being next to us here, about 500 miles from where I am. And they had very successful operations in New Orleans.
Yes.
Extremely successful. I understand up in Memphis as well. I read the other day that Houston has had the largest number of ICE operations in the country. So this garbage that it only happens in blue states, that's not true.
Yeah.
It happens in Florida too. But I think the difference, Bill, comes down to leadership, local leadership.
Yes, absolutely.
And the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott, a few weeks ago, there was going to be a march after the death of the death of the first woman up there, of the woman up there. There were going to be a march on the weekend. And the governor said, you can march all you want. You can protest all you want. That's your constitutional right. But do not touch a police officer. Do not interfere with a police operation. Do not stop traffic or block traffic. And do not interfere with businesses or restaurants or whatever. Because if anybody does that, they're being arrested and it won't go well. And it's incredible how that message got out, and we didn't have any problems, Bill. We had a march, no problem.
That's right. That's the point, that the ICE operations are carried out throughout the country every day. Somebody said very somberly a few days ago, it is the world's fourth largest military force. It's not a military force. It is a force that does some very tough work, and they often get their toughest assignments in states that are sanctuary states, where really bad people have been let into the state, and even start getting called neighbors. Our neighbors, we must take them in because that is who we are.
Well, they don't. It's funny. I don't know that the mayor lets him into his neighborhood.
No, probably not.
But it is, but it's so interesting how it works. I mean, for example, here in Texas and in Florida, it's the same thing, I believe. And in Louisiana, I know it's the same thing. Oklahoma, it's the same thing. The way Arizona, I think, the way it works is that if the police, local police, let's say, will arrest somebody, it could be a traffic violation, or it could be that somebody, called them in because there was whatever the reason. They arrest a person and the person cannot identify themselves. They don't have the papers. The automobile doesn't belong to them, the usual stuff. Well, the police tries their best to identify the person, and then at some point they say, we cannot determine who you are, so they bring in ICE. ICE shows up at the station, and they take it from there.
Yes.
Sometimes they return him to the police and say, yeah, this guy, he's a resident or whatever, you can have him back. Other times they take him. But you don't have any of these marches. You don't have any of these provocations. You don't have people blocking ICE operations. I mean, it works so smoothly. I say smoothly as a police operation, that is. But it works, and you never hear about anything like this in Texas, Bill.
No, you only hear about it mostly in sanctuary states, because they already have admitted such a large number of criminals. Our neighbors, our new neighbors, are our fellow citizens of the world who've had some bad luck, and we are going to take them in because that's who we are. And it is very very true. It only happens in certain places, and that certain place in the last 10 years or so has been Minneapolis. I mean, which used to be such a sane city, cold, of course, but a sane city. But now the irresponsibility on the part of the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of the state, the language used, inflammatory, really almost suggesting that people go out and beat up or stop the ICE people from doing their work. It's always a dangerous thing to interfere with a police officer or with an officer of the federal government. And there have been these incidents. I don't make any judgment about them. I don't know the facts, but we just went through a period where we have been watching the people of Iran rise up in a true revolution, and thousands have been killed by their own government. I don't see any demonstrations here. Do you?
No, and that was going to be our next point on the agenda here, because you're exactly right. I don't see anybody marching on our streets referring to the government of Iran as Gestapo or paramilitary or people wearing a mask or stuff like that. But you're right; they're killing people. They're much more ruthless than they are here. But I guess that's the beauty of a real police state, that you
Yes,
can get away with that stuff. As I've always said, the easiest place in the world to demonstrate is the United States.
it is. Absolutely.
And these people, but why? Let me ask you a question, because I keep asking myself, why would the city of Minneapolis want to have this fight? Now, I have two explanations, and I like to put them on the table, and you tell me if you agree or disagree, or maybe you have a better one. The first one is that they want to have a fight with Trump. It's instinctive. They got to have a fight with Trump. I mean, if Trump says, whatever Trump says, they have to go against it. So that's
Yes.
number one. The second,
Trump derangement syndrome.
well, that's there's a lot of that. And the second reason, and maybe this is really cynical, but don't they have a problem out there with fraud?
Oh yeah. Apparently a very big one. I mean, there are billions of dollars that are unaccounted for, and we now learn that the great wise congresswoman from Minneapolis, Omar, whatever her name is, that she suddenly has become a very wealthy woman. I mean, she came into America to come to America, and she became a congresswoman, based largely on Somali votes from Minneapolis. And now it turns out she is living in incredible luxury due to a multi-million-dollar fortune that suddenly came her way. And we can't exactly find out where the money came from.
It's just remarkable. And it's almost like this battle over immigration, maybe it's just a curtain to not to, because they don't want to get to the next topic, which is the real serious one, the fraud.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I also think it gives these people an excuse. Like, for example, the mayor of LA, they're also a sanctuary city,
Yes.
and they haven't gone quite as far as Minneapolis, but they're pretty crazy too. And they like to have these fights with Trump as well. And maybe I guess these fights with Trump are better than having to explain to the city of LA why a year after the fire, nothing has been done.
Well, that's absolutely correct. And LA has its own approach. Minneapolis has, in terms of fraud and other things, is apparently much more illustrious and entertaining than Los Angeles, which is a little more on the quiet side. They conduct their fraud in a dignified manner. Uh,
Yeah, they're like the movie with Paul Newman, The Sting. They do
yeah,
it in a real, really clever way. But anyway, I look at what's happening up in Minneapolis, and I get angry because I think these law enforcement officers are being treated so poorly by people who should know better. I also think that these marches up there and these protests up there are not spontaneous. I think somebody is is organizing them,
yes, and probably paying the bill.
and probably, and they even have these this network of contacts where they phone ahead and they say, hey, ICE is on the way, get ready because ICE is on the way. i
Yes,
thought I thought that was interfering with the police. Imagine me saying, to a robber who's about to rob a bank, hey, the police is on the way, so don't do it now, or
that's
something like that. I mean,
yes. Well,
crazy.
it is crazy because they look. They can come out and yell all they want. But say we don't want you here. We don't want you here. You can say that all day long, and as long as they don't interfere, it's perfectly constitutional. Obnoxious at times, but they've gone so far beyond that. I mean, and there was an ICE agent last night who was very seriously injured by someone who attacked him in the middle of a demonstration, I believe, and he is now a casualty.
Right.
And nobody's giving him a parade. That's for sure.
No, and where was the local police?
Well, they're not allowed to do deal with ICE. It's a sanctuary city, and they said you are not to help ICE in any way. Well, it is not characteristic of the police in any
Right.
jurisdiction to refuse or not want to help fellow officers, and it
Right. I
just goes
bet the
against
police. I bet the
that's.
police is really angry about that too.
Oh, no question, no
Yeah.
question.
I
They'll
bet.
probably lose a lot of officers.
Well, they're already losing them. They're down to 600, from what I understand, for a city of 430,000 people. The mayor was talking about it the other day about how they've had to cancel overtime or time off or whatever, because they're so overworked. Well, if I'm the mayor and I have such a shortage of police officers, maybe I would welcome the help of these agents so that
That's
my
right.
guys don't have to do it all.
That's right, and I would certainly want to cooperate with these agents instead of trying to throw them out of town because the agents are doing an important job of putting under arrest people, in many cases already convicted of very serious crimes.
Absolutely. Now, I guess the Democrats, I saw that Chuck Schumer, Senator Schumer from your state of New York, has decided that they're not going to be, or that they're going to shut down the government or not support the funding. I'm not sure if they're actually going to shut down the government because they've already voted on most things, but at least the funding for this program, they're not going to vote for it unless there are reforms, as they like to say,
Yes,
to
yes,
a cute little way of getting around it. They don't want to say defund ICE. Now they say that we want to reform ICE.
yes.
It's kind of a cute little way of getting around it. But what kind of reforms are they talking about? I haven't heard anything about that.
Well, they suddenly will come up with the kind of reforms that will make ICE absolutely useless. I mean, that's what they want. They want the illegals in the cities, and they want them to be left alone because they are the future of the Democratic Party. And this is it's grossly irresponsible because we've had the problem here in New York where the prior administration, or maybe it was even the one before that, declared New York a sanctuary city. I don't think the people of the city ever had a chance to vote on it. Uh, but that and so you would go to the Broadway area, which used to be glorious show business, and you would find a lot of people walking around uh, 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 panhandling or threatening people or trying to get away with not paying a subway fare. And it eventually leads to just a complete contamination of a city.
Right. No, you're right. Just look at pictures of LA. I have a friend who went to a friend from Brazil. I was talking to the other day, and he went to college at USC back in the 70s. And then he went back to Brazil, started a business, got married, the usual stuff. And now his sons, a couple of his sons are now in college. So he decided to take a family trip to LA to show them, where he went to school.
Sure.
And he said it was sad to see what's happened to LA.
Oh, yes.
I mean, he
absolutely.
said the city that he remembers is so different than the city that he saw. He says, LA reminds me of a third world city, and this fellow travels the world. I
Yes.
mean, he's seen all the third world cities.
And
he
that's
says,
it.
it reminds me, I mean, he says Sao Paulo looks better than LA.
That's right. That's something that I think many Americans have wondered. Why do our inner cities look so horrible? They look, as you just said, like third world countries. It doesn't happen in states that are not sanctuary states.
No,
It
right.
only happens in some places.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if a person came to Dallas, let's say they were here 40, 30 years ago, and they came to Dallas today, it would look different, of course, but it wouldn't be in a negative way. It would look different in the sense that there's been a lot of growth, a lot more highways, a lot more buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, in that sense, it's changed. But we don't have streets here like that look like that, like LA. We don't have sections of Dallas. Well, there's some bad sections as there are in any town, but not downtown Dallas doesn't look like downtown LA.
No, it's and San Francisco,
Oh
I think
gosh.
is now trying to clean up part of its city. Whether they'll be able to do it, we don't know because we don't. Even if they have a sincere central government, and they have some people in San Francisco now who've been brought in who apparently are very good, but even if they have that, without public cooperation and cooperation of unionists and other people, other classes. Without that, it doesn't matter how sincere they are.
Right.
You're not going to get any results.
And you got to have a governor who lays down the law. I think, because a lot of these things are related to the governor.
Yes.
Look at Illinois with Chicago. Look at Washington with Seattle. We'll talk about another city that is just going to heck.
Yes.
Seattle. Portland. I mean, those were great cities at one time.
That's exactly right.
And well, Chicago, you remember Chicago. I guess you went to college there, yeah. And if you have a good governor, a strong governor, then it makes a difference. But unfortunately, a lot of these blue cities, not only do they have bad local leadership, they have bad state leadership.
Oh, of course. And look at, or you have a state like New York where nobody knows who the leaders are. I mean, we have a governor running for re-election, and I'll bet most people in New York don't even know her name.
That's right. That's right. Except she's a girl from Buffalo, she keeps telling us.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, she's from Buffalo, she tells us.
I'm just a simple girl from Buffalo.
I'm just a simple girl from Buffalo,
Yeah.
She grew up, I'm sure, cheering for the Buffalo Bills. I'm sure.
That's right.
Anyway, but well, let's move to a couple of other important topics. Iran. The talk is that we're gonna take out or bomb Iran, not bomb Iran. Others are saying that Trump is setting up the military pieces. I mean, I don't know. He cannot back down after everything he said.
Well, that's the point. That's the issue here. I have been writing on Urgent Agenda, my website, for months that Iran will define his administration. If he fails with Iran, he will go down as a failed president. If he succeeds with Iran and gets rid of the mullahs, that will be an enormous achievement. But I don't know if he has the skill set necessary here. I mean, he makes these blustering speeches if you don't do this within 2 weeks, all hell will be upon you. We'll wipe you out. And then something happens. Somebody comes to him and admires his suit, and that goes and that gets forgotten about. This has now happened several times. Where in this particular case, we're talking about an occasion where the people of Iran really went into revolt, and the country itself is weak. It's weak in virtually every respect. It is an ideal opportunity
Right.
to take the Iranian government off the map. And
Absolutely.
so far, it's been a lot of talk. And if this whole thing if this whole thing winds up with the Iranian government still in place and a couple of little reforms made, he will have failed because
Right.
the opportunity is so great.
No, the opportunity couldn't be better. I mean, you're exactly right. It's perfect time. Now, I was listening to Hugh Hewitt, and he was interviewing some military people, and he was saying that they've got to get their military forces in place. I guess one of the big aircraft carriers and
The Abraham Lincoln,
right,
has just arrived in the area.
Right, and that is a huge firepower. I mean, that can do a lot of damage, that Lincoln, with all the other stuff, because they have a bunch of other ships that come with them.
Yes.
And they have a lot of air power in those aircraft carriers. So that, that could be a good sign that something is going to happen. But I do agree with you. I think the opportunity, I mean, I can just imagine how history would treat Trump if in 1 year he brought Venezuela down, Cuba down, and Iran down.
Yes.
I mean, you talk about obviously Cuba is not Iran. I realize that in terms of security, but it would be such a lot of those are lots of candles on his cake.
Absolutely. If he can bring down the Iranian government,
yes,
he will have transformed the Middle East.
Well, and that is such a good point, Bill. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because as long as I can remember, that's the source of every problem in the region, Iran.
Yes, all these little organizations you hear about are usually products of the Iranian government in one way or the other.
That's it. I mean, when the Shah was there, look, there were problems with the Shah, I'm sure, but you didn't have these problems.
Yes, that's very true. It was only when the Ayatollah took over at the end of the 1970s under the tutelage of one Jimmy Carter.
Right.
Hi, he's man of God, and Carter botched our Iranian policy very, very badly, and it was one of the reasons he lost re-election.
Right.
And properly so. But there has been over the years too much appeasement of the Iranian government by people like Carter, and especially by one Barack Obama, who seemed to have no problem at all with the Muslim Brotherhood and all of these organizations that are anti-American.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. And if you remember in the first year of Obama, 2009, when they had those riots, he kind of looked the other way.
He did. Yes,
he did. And I think that was also a good time to take him out, but
yes,
he didn't. Well, one last topic I want to mention here is Greenland. That's a story in progress. We're not exactly sure everything in that deal that he apparently, the framework, as he calls it, of a deal. But I'm glad, I have to tell you, I am really glad that President Trump is focusing on Greenland, because the more you look at that map,
mm-hmm.
the more important that place becomes to me from a military standpoint. I mean, whatever one may say about Trump's style, at least his thinking is right, Bill.
Well, yes, he understands the strategic aspects of it, that we need bases in Greenland. We don't necessarily need the whole thing.
No.
We need bases in Greenland to protect the entire area, not only the United States, but Canada, Western Europe, because it's kind of an open area there where the not the Soviet Union, but modern Russia has a lot of interest as well. If they could take over parts of Greenland and challenge the NATO forces that are up there, it weakens NATO considerably.
That's right. And also taking into account the fact that we are NATO.
Yes, well, yes, of course.
I mean, NATO is a great name and a great, when you look at the building, all those flags,
That's right.
there's only one of those flags that actually can defend. One flag defends all the others.
Well, I'm afraid that's
And,
correct.
and
And
I say that with all, look, I say that with all due respect. I know they lost, like England did lose soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq. So I don't mean to mock them because some of their soldiers have fought and have died.
yes.
But the reality is, when it comes to submarines and when it comes to China, they cannot defend themselves. Not even Russia.
They can't, and they're facing both Russia and China,
Right.
which have vital defense interests, not defense, but offensive
Right.
interests in Greenland. And I think that a deal can be reached where our forces will be there to defend not only the United States but the other NATO countries as well.
Somebody was, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I remember that story you told us the other day about how President Roosevelt, in one of the fireside chats, said, "Go get yourself a map and
That's
look
right.
at these countries." Well, the other day I was listening to a military man, and he said something like that. He said, "Get yourself a map." Actually, he actually said a globe. The little round globe that
Sure.
that you can buy at wherever they sell them. And he said, take that globe and look at the very top of it.
Yes.
And what's up there? You got the North Pole, you got Russia, and that little place there is called Greenland.
That's right.
That's pretty important. When you look at that map, it all of a sudden, this is not just a place full of ice. This is a place. I mean, it's quite a strategic place, Bill.
Very strategic, especially for submarines.
Yes.
I mean, it's a great way station for submarines. And if the Russians and the Chinese can take over that territory and base their forces there, it's very much similar to what we felt in 1962 when Russia tried to communize. Well, communist is not the right word because it already was communistic, but to strengthen the military forces of Cuba to challenge the United States, which was only 90 miles away. We immediately recognized how dangerous this was.
Right. Yeah, I would. Yeah, you're right. That's a very good comparison. And this in this particular case, it's two countries you're talking about, Russia. But I'm more concerned about China because I think that's more of the future.
Well, the more aggressive,
yeah. Russia is they're not. To me, China is the country 50 years from now that we have to worry about. Not so much Russia. Well, Bill, I hope you are ready to get back to your winter storm.
Well, I don't know.
Don't know about that, but at least you can stay inside.
We are staying inside. We're following the advice of the local authorities.
Right.
And I look out the window and I see most people are as well, which is good.
Which is a good sign, yeah. I look out my window and I see a lot of sunshine. So that's a good sign.
That's
because
a good sign.
That means I can at least go outside and check the mail, although I don't think the mailman is going to be coming today, but at least one can. I feel sorry for the pets because they have a hard time going out too.
Oh, that's true.
That's
true.
Yeah,
you have to be very
dogs.
careful taking care of a dog in weather like this, making sure it's warm enough and doesn't breathe in too much cold air. They really require extra care.
They do. They really do. And of course, the problem is sometimes you got to walk the dog.
You do, yes.
And that's the potential for a fall. Well, Bill, thank you so much for your time as always, and
my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today. And we'll do it again next week. I'm sure we got a lot to get into.
I have a feeling we're going to have a lot next week.
All right, thank you, Bill. Have a wonderful Monday.
My pleasure.
See you later. Our good friend Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. We talk a little bit today about a lot of different things. The storm of 2026, the big storm of 26. Minneapolis, situation up there, pretty crazy. Iran, Greenland, and a little reminiscing there of Bob Eucker, who one of the funniest people ever. Well, he played baseball, and then he went into the show business, radio, TV, and was the announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers baseball team, but also had a little movie career and comedy career and all of that as well, because he was a very funny man. Thank you very much for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.